Hi, hello everyone. Last time we left off, well, with basically a bunch of sprites and optimized rendering of sprites. So this video, we're going to cover, well, loading sprite sheets. And what is sprite sheets? Well, what is sprite sheet? Well, this is sprite sheet. So it's just a texture which holds all the assets or multiple assets together. So how do we load it? So it will work sort of like this. Maybe just give me a second. Maybe I'll just not render this for a while because it's quite bothering me. But essentially it's going to work like this. If you take a look at this thing here, so for example, let's look at this guy here. So let's say that here he has some position 100 and 100, and then he also has a width, height, etc. Well, basically just position, width, and height. So we get that position, and in our example, it's encoded in this XML document. So for example, it might be some player ship or something like that, or enemy ship. For example, enemy radar, right? It has position, X and Y, and then width and height. So how do we get that? Well, we basically just get that X, Y with height, and that's our data that we need for our UV texture coordinates. And then since our UV texture coordinates are going actually from 0 to 1, let's say that we have this image that's maybe 1000 in width, and then we're trying to get some sprite from that image, let's say this guy, and let's just say for simplicity he's at X position 100. So how do we get it to UV coordinates? Well, we just take this 100 position, divide it by 1000, we get 0.1, and that's our U coordinate. It's similar for V. If we imagine that height is at 100, and let's just say height is 500 here, so then we get 0.2 for V, right? Because it's 100 over 500. And then for width, we just add this texture width, right? So that's let's imagine 100 plus 50. Let's just say that this width is 50. So we're just taking this, and then it will be, well, for example, for you it will be 0.15. Anyway, not important. You're going to get to it. So we can already get started with it. So let's do just that. And then in main, I'm not going to use this sprite sheet yet. We're going to load it later, but I can use this UV texture. So I can draw, for example, let's just get rid of this. I could draw this part to test with, or this part, you get the idea. So let's do just that. So in our sprite renderer, we're just going to shamelessly copy paste this method and then create another one. And let's just say draw sprite source. And how do we get those coordinates? Well, we're just going to use source rect. And then we can say, for example, here, let's use 0 equals. This will work, this will work. That's all right, that's all right. Aha, we don't have texture width. So let's just, in our texture, somewhere over here, let's add width to it. So we're passing image, so we can just say image dot width, image dot height here, and here we can just say here comma public width number and then public height also of type number, so that works. That's great. And then we have width and height, and basically we get our coordinates just like I mentioned. So we get U from source rect over so from position X over width, V0 from for position Y over height, and then we just have to take width and height into account as well. And then here, wherever we had 0, we can pass U0, and for the second one we can pass V0 as well. So we had here 1, we're just going to pass U1, we had 0 here, 0, then u1, 1, and v1. So that should already kind of work. Let's just test it out. So in our main, we're not going to draw this anymore. We're just going to say this sprite render, draw sprite source. Source. What did I call it? Ah, I misspelled it. Sprite source. And here it's complaining because we're not using correct override. And it did something weird. So let's just say this. Let's say const draw rect. Apparently I cannot type today. So let's just place it at some position 0, 0, 200, 200 width and height, and then let's just say const source rect. And that's going to change, but let's just try to draw top left. And so what do we need? We need actually size half width of this texture and its content UV. I know we're not using it, so I'm going to have to use it again. So let's just say public static UV texture, and then, sorry about this UV texture, wait, texture, and it was in assets but not PNG. Suggestion is wrong. Let's test. So we can just take that. So we're not going to need half width over 2, and then we're going to need half height. And then here, you can say half width, half height. Okay, it's not working, source rect. And here it's draw rect. And it has a bug. I remember what the bug is. I had this issue before. In our sprite render, I forgot to do one thing, and that's to set our connect texture to null at the beginning of the frame. So that was causing some issues. Okay, kinda works, but not really. Let's just see what's happening. See if it's complaining about connect texture, so I can just say or null, and then initialize it to null at the beginning. So we don't need this operator anymore. That's all right. And here, sprite render, it's using player texture, so we mentioned it needs to be UV texture, and you can already see it kind of works. So if we want to draw top right half, right? This is top left half. So we just have to offset here for position, right? For half of the width of the texture. So if I say half of the width, it works. Let's now try bottom right corner. So half height, it works. And the bottom left one. All right, perfect. It already works. So going further, we actually need to load this sprite sheet, and let's do just that. So how is this going to work? Let's check. So basically, we're going to need to load XML file. So I'm going to do this second. So JavaScript already has a sort of API for that, so it's not going to be that hard. So let's just see, load sprite sheet. And here, so we need to request that XML request, and JavaScript has library fetch already, so we can use that. It's not sheet XML, it's in sprite sheet, as you can see here, right? It's under asset sprite sheet. So we fetch that, and then we just get text from that. Text, wait. So from that request we can ask for text, and then we can create a parser. So DOM parser, we can say XML doc parser, parse from string, we're pasting text XML, and then we can query. So if you take a look at our XML here, these are the XML elements, right? It's similar to HTML. And then we can just query for subtexture here. So we're doing that here, and then for each of those elements, we can ask for name. So if you take a look at attributes here, it has name, x, y with height. So we're going to ask for all of those. So we can ask for x. And here I'm just going to say this. Then we can ask for y. So I'm parsing to integer because we're going to get string. So I just need to take that into account. This is all right. So we're going to create drawRect. New rect. So drawRect is actually not going to be that relevant. We're just going to use width and height by default. And position is not important for drawRect. What's important is sourceRect. So the sourceRect defines part of the texture to use. So basically sourceRect might say, okay, use this guy. And drawRect will say where on the screen we want to actually draw it. So that's the difference. And then, so I'm going to need some kind of structure, and I did it like this in my example that I prepared. So sprites. So it's going to have ID of type string, and then just sprite. And let's initialize it up to empty array. All right, I don't have sprite yet, so let's just create it, sprite ts, and sprite is just going to hold that information. It's basically going to hold just some small info. So it's going to have constructor, public texture. It's going to reference the texture. Then it's going to have drawRect and sourceRect. And let's just resolve this. So we need to import the rect. In our content, now we need to import the sprite. So I have loaded sprites. So here, let's just say these sprites. We're going to use name. And then set up, not this texture, this is wrong. So why is it complaining about the name? This is a bit weird. Null. So it's not null. Okay, now it works. Just let's actually load our texture as well. So this one. So it's going to be public static sprite sheet texture, and then we can load sprite sheet. Now let's just see if suggestion is all right. Assets, sprite sheet png. Here it's lowercase, but I think it should be fine. The case doesn't even matter probably. So we're just going to use sprite sheet. Here are public static sprites. So we're going to use these sprites. So let's just try to get one of the guys here. So let's do it. So it's going to be, let's just say player. Content sprites, player ship blue, already suggested it. Need to remember what I was working on. And then instead of drawing this here, actually I can just leave it for example, but let's draw this regardless. So let's just say this sprite render, draw sprite. Since we have player, let's just call it player sprite. drawRect, sourceRect. And here it needs to be this override. If I save it, nothing happens because I forgot to actually call to load this sprite sheet. Still I have a bug, and that's interesting. Let's see what it is. Okay, failed to load the image UV tests. How did this end up here? All right, kind of works. We're drawing our player behind, so let's just try to move our player a bit. So let's do just this player direct x plus equals 0 plus equals 0.1. Okay, maybe not that, plus equals 1. And let's do same for y. Okay, we can already see it moving. It works. Let's just try small factor. Cool. So it works already. That's perfect. So next thing that I wanna do is actually use tint color. So while we're at it, we can actually do that since it's small change. So if you remember in our Sprite, not pipeline, Sprite renderer, we were using this thing. Where is it? Your Sprite with source. We had this last arguments RG and B, and that's for color, so we can do just that. So let's just say here we're going to have default color. Default color is color. Do we have color? I never created color. Okay, let's do just that. So let's do this. Not new folder, new file. Let's just create color, export class color, and it's going to have public R for red, public green for green, and public blue for blue color. All right, then in our sprite render, we can just say new color. All right, we have default color now, so you can find this draw with source color, and we can assign it to default color right here, so that we just have some default, and here, then we can just say color, but not red. Here it must be green, here it must be blue. Here, color dot red, green, blue, and it should work. So first we're going to try if it works, and then we're going to try and change this color. All right, it works, and in our main, so we can now ask for a different color. So let's just say const color. Let's try with red tint. So it's basically a tint color. So here, let's try color. I actually did it on not the player. I did it on our UV text coordinate. But if I do it on player, you can see it kind of has this, well, basically red tint color. So that's it. One more thing that I'm going to try is to add this kind of shield, and then we're going to have some sort of thing that looks like gameplay already. So let's just ask for that as well. So we can ask for shield. And there is this, if you look at XML document, here we have this kind of shield effect, and somewhere here it's called shield 1. You can find it here, so let's just try to use that. And direct is just going to be X is going to be player, draw player sprite direct X. We're going to do the same for Y, and then we're just going to draw it. So shield, let's just take that. partial here, partial here, partial here. Let's try it. So let's just not use this color on player anymore, only on shield. And here we can say, let's just say it's kind of blue tint. Okay, perfect. You can already see it. You can see some flickering here, and I'm going to explain it actually and fix it in next video because this video is already too long, but let's just fix this position. Maybe say something like -12. So in X it looks alright. When we work on gameplay, I'm going to fix that a bit better, but I can say here -12 as well. So you can already see this is kind of surrounding the player, so we can offset this a bit more. It kind of looks good. Anyway, it will all make more sense once we work with rotations, and this flickering, I'm going to fix it in the next video, since this is already too long. Anyway, hopefully you understand how it works, and this, and hopefully you don't find this basically loading of sprite sheets too hard. It's really easy. You just need to take into account the UV coordinates. Well, basically normalize them from the texture, whatever you have, and then it's working all right. And here is normalization, right? It's just dividing by texture width, whatever our sprite coordinates are, right? So if we had a sprite, wrong. If we had sprite somewhere over here, it had x, so we need to divide by the texture width. So this is texture, this is a subsection, so we had xy, we divide it by texture width, texture height, and then we do the same for this corner, and this corner. Anyway, you get the idea. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Big news is I also created a Discord channel. I will leave it in the description of the video, so you can join on Discord channel if you have any additional questions or if something is not clear. And also if you liked the video, please like it, subscribe, and until next time.